And this is exactly where you want to be. John's not stupid. After the win last week, I'm here early. Joe's not stupid. Very profitable show like the past month. We have been on fire, but also it's about the knowledge, because knowledge is power. Welcome, everybody, into DTL Golf, part of the Driving the Line universe. We are live every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and then on demand all the way up to the start of round one. This is a very special week. It's the final major of 2024, and then we begin the trek to the FedEx Cup playoffs. Now, the starting times, just like last week at the Scottish Open, very, very different. Middle of the night for many of you. So when you get these plays, do not get shut out. You want to put them in late Wednesday night at the very latest. Now, you guys know, you come here every week. We continue to grow. I got the best crew in the business. Everybody has some type of professional pedigree, and let's bring him in right now. The stars of the show, and they're all here. I said, there's no way we're missing the last major week of the year. So, Fast Eddie Fernandes, who loves to drop a little flex whenever he can. Where did you just get back from him playing? And what is that, sir?
It's just, it's just the Grove 23 guy. I think Michael Jordan owned it. But I just got back from Liberty National. What an absolute gem that place is. It was in phenomenal shape. It was what a treat it was to play there, hitting balls up against the skyline of Manhattan. It was incredible. Absolutely amazing.
I am so glad you had that experience. So glad. Now, this man famously went toe-to-toe with the man that Colin Montgomery is having a little tete-a-tete with this week. One Tiger Woods. Steve Scott, what's good, my man?
Oh, everything is good. The Open Championship is good. I even got the T-shirt this week. I am ready. This is awesome. I love everything. You know what? They say if you want to see all 4 seasons in one day, you go play golf in Scotland. That's what they're getting this week.
I can't wait. By the way, this was very hard for me to believe. Did you guys see the Dottie Pepper post that she walked with Jim Nance? He played the Old Course for the very first time in his life this past week. Is that you would have thought Jim Nance would have played it 25 years ago?
Jeez.
Never.
He just played. I just thought he owned half of it.
And that man right there is still a little delusional. He still hasn't quite got back on his sleep time yet, because he was on the call last week at the Scottish Open. Robert Damron, how was that for you, sir, on PGA Tour Live?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough to get the energy up. I was just sleepwalking through the whole damn thing. If I told you I wasn't sitting around the house doing a jigsaw puzzle, exhausted the last 2 days, I'd be lying to you. I haven't done squat.
We believe you. Trust me, we believe you. Now, for many of you coming in right now, look at that live number right now. Are you kidding me? That's already the biggest show we've done all summer. But we need you to hit that like button for it. It really helps the show grow. We have some really important people watching the show today as well. So shout out to all of you, and you know who you are. All right, gentlemen, let's get right into it, because we have the final major of the year. Royal Troon, the 10th time that they will play at this venue, the first time since 2016. And Steve Scott, I'm going to start with you, because there's a lot of different storylines this week. But Colin Montgomery said, what the hell is Tiger Woods doing? Why is he even here? Tiger comes back and says, I am exempt until I'm 60. Colin is not. Drop the mic. What do you make, and what's your biggest storyline this week?
That was a great dig. I love that. That was so gold right there, I thought. But yeah, I mean, he has all the right to do that. And what's ironic is that Colin Montgomery, he grew up at Troon. His father was the secretary of the club, a club captain at one point. So that's very ironic for him to say, and he kind of put him in his place right there, kind of on his home turf there, so to speak. But yeah, the storyline this week really for me is this golf course and the weather. You never know who you're going to get. The winners here at Troon have been Justin Leonard, not the longest player in the world. Todd Hamilton outdueled Ernie Els in a playoff, and Todd Hamilton was kind of a no-name and got it done. Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson had a Sunday for the ages. They were 2 times ahead of the third place player that year. So a lot of epic golf has been played here. I think there's going to be another close finish this week here at Troon.
I contend that the Henrik Stenson Phil Mickelson finish and duel that Sunday is the best in the history of the Open Championship. And I don't think it's close. Now, Robert, let me come over to you, because another guy named Robert, or for some reason, a guy they're calling Bobby, last week, a shocking finish, 4 under in his last 5 holes, wins the event that he says he wants to win more than anything. Let's not talk about the drop. It is what it is. But you were on the call. Now coming into this week with that victory and the win in Canada, would you consider Robert McIntyre a favorite this week? And who else do you like?
You damn right I consider him a favorite. Plus, he's going to be coming in loose as a goose with half a belly of Irish whiskey in him probably by the time he tees off on Thursday. No, you know, the way he's playing, obviously Scottish golf is second nature to him, whereas many players in the field, it's not. You'd be silly not to at least take a look at it. Maybe not to win, but, you know, there's plenty of bets around Bobby McIntyre, and they call him Bobby so as not to confuse him with me, a couple tubby guys named Robert. So, yes, I think that you'll see as the show progresses that Bobby Mack might have made his way into some of my picks even.
Look how Robert Damron over the years has learned how to tease his own picks. That's next level stuff right there. Next level stuff. Now, you are known for distance, Fast Eddie, but when we're talking about links golf, you can get a 400-yard drive and 150 of it could be on the ground. When you look at this style of golf, for the good people watching at home, what's the difference between traditional American golf and links golf?
Maybe a little luck, probably. Got to avoid the pop bunkers. It's so funny. When I look at this golf course, I look at the nines are completely different. Like the front nine, the longest par 4 is 10 yards shorter than the shortest par 4 on the back. So it's like completely different. It's going to be an awesome week. I love, like I mentioned a few weeks ago, I love this week just because I'm an early riser. I love to get up early and just watch the Open Championship. It's one of my favorite things to do all year. But yeah, it's going to be, you need a little luck out here for sure, especially if the wind is blowing. Those pop bunkers can be really brutal, especially if you hit in the wrong side of them.
Steve, you're a guy that teaches a lot. You've played in all different kinds of conditions. What do you think is the most important thing for a player to have to be successful with this kind of golf?
It's one word to me. It's acceptance. You have to be accepting of all the bounces, all the weather patterns that come in and, you know, disrupt a 3 or 4 hole stretch. But this golf course particularly is just a demanding golf course. That back nine, 3,800 yards or so. And there's a few holes there, the 10th, the 11th. There's a few tee shots you really have to dial in, or else you're going to be in the gorse. And you know, the wind directions are very challenging. It's a heavier wind than they play over here in the States. It's colder. The ball just doesn't penetrate through it as well. And but you have to overall be very accepting of all the nuances of links golf. And if you can do that and, you know, roll a few putts in, hit a few good ones, you know, avoid the bad spots out there in those pot bunkers, you could walk away with that clear jug.
So when you talk about high ball hitters like a Rory McIlroy, Robert, he has won the Open Championship in the past. But would we need to look at guys that are really good at adjusting their trajectory this particular week?
You know, you do have to adjust your trajectory. There's no question about it, because the wind will be up to some degree or another every single day. I always found, Coach, when you go over there, keeping the ball a little flatter was easier than you thought because the ground is so tight and it's tough to actually get it up in the air. The thing that it took me some time to figure out, actually more time than I probably still haven't figured it out, is you don't have to run like I went over there and I thought you got to run every shot in, you got to land ball short of the green. No, not always. You know, not always. You can have that option. Sometimes you can go a little higher and land it on the green. You just got to have the patience and acceptance. I'll steal Steve Scott's word, to accept the bad breaks because they are coming. There's no question about it, through no fault of your own. And you just got to remind yourself that everybody's going to have them. Hopefully you don't have more than everybody else, like I did.
No doubt. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be, we saw Ludwig Oberg last week. He hits one to 3 feet. It hits the ball and shoots off. You never know what could happen in links golf. But Fast Eddie, of the 4 of us, you've played overseas most recently in the last, 4 to 5 weeks. What was the biggest challenge for your game?
A little windy. Probably. The wind kind of gets up. So I didn't play links golf over there. I played the K Club and I played Adair Manor, which are, it's like I was playing here in the States. But, it can blow. And sometimes it's a 2, maybe even a 3 club wind. So, and to Robert's point, you have to flight it. You have to keep it down. Those golf courses, it was so soft in front of the green, so you couldn't really roll it up. But, being a little longer than most, I didn't really have to. Didn't have to run any up onto the green. So
never a shock, never a surprise. Just a second. I always stretch my hand when I'm doing that to myself too. All right. If you're brand new to DTL Golf, here's what we do. We got 5 different categories we like to give to you. The only one that we tell you to bet a full unit on, if you're a $100 bettor, you put $100, is our head-to-head matchups. Everything else, dial it back a little bit because it's a little bit hard, even though this show, the last 3 weeks, we've been handing out plus money tickets as if we're just eating at the table all day long. It's simply what we do. So let's get into it, guys. First round leaders is the first category. And remember, we're talking 10 o'clock in the East, I believe, or something like that is when the first round starts on Thursday morning, depending on where you live. So, RD, you've got one guy, and this is a name that we haven't really heard for a long time. Why do you like him this week out of the gate?
Well, let me start, Coach, by telling you my whole philosophy for the week. Justin Ray on Twitter. If you don't follow Justin Ray, you're missing out. The guy's got every stat. Yes, I got to put the old man glasses on to read the tweet from Justin Ray. It says 2014, 55% of Masters, PGA, and U.S. Open winners have ranked in the top 10 for the week in driving distance. None of the last 8 Open champions have. So this is a week of hitting fairways. I got to watch Matteo Manassero in the Scottish Open. We followed him. He played with Rory the last day. He didn't make a ton of putts, but he was in very good control of his driver, hit seemingly every fairway, which is tough to do out there. He's a guy that was the can't-miss kid, and then he missed for a while, but he has come back. He won earlier this year. He's got the 2 youngest wins of all time on the DP World Tour. He was 17 the first time he won on DP World Tour, so he knows what he's doing, and I just liked what I saw out of control in his ball around that course last week at the Renaissance Club.
It's amazing. He really was a can't miss, kind of like Sean O'Hare was back in the day. 17 years old, you're winning. You're like, man, he's going to win all the – until you don't. Until you don't. All right, Eddie, let me come over to you because these 2 guys are very much in form, especially Sungjae. Talk to me.
Yeah, both of them are, Coach. I mean, look, Sungjae M plus 6,500. He is playing some awesome golf. He finished 4th last week at the Scottish. 6 top 9 finishes in his last 9 events. That's really, really high level golf. It would not surprise me to see him go wire to wire. He's played at a very high level. And, the volcano Tyrrell Hatton. Numbers do not lie. Finished 5th in 2016 at Troon. His last 2 starts on Live, win, and a 3rd. So he may come out of the blocks flaming hot, probably playing the best golf of his life. Like Steve said, acceptance is going to be a big part of this week. So if he can kind of keep that head sort of cool and not lose his mind, I think he's going to have a good week.
Now, come on, we don't want him to not have a couple of blow-ups. That's why we love Tyrrell Hatton. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Let's be honest.
That's right.
By the way, Joe said in the chat, I've never heard of this guy, meaning Montecero. I'm telling you, I have not said his name in how many years? 10? Many years. That's why, Joe, he hasn't been talked about. He's disappeared, but he played well last week. All right, Steve Scott, let me come over to you. Speaking of a guy named Scott, Adam Scott was in position to win the Scottish Open last week, and then all that craziness happened at the end, and he did not get the W, but he also has a good history in the Open Championship, sort of. You're up.
Well, Joe also in the chat, I've got to say that he said, I look like what Rory McIlroy will look like in 15 years. I kind of would like to look like what Adam Scott might look like
there you go.
In 15 years. But Rory's okay. If I can get a little distance from him, that'd be cool. But nonetheless, Adam Scott plus 6,000 this week. One thing to consider this week, the greens overseas. If you watched last week at the Scottish Open, like I know a lot of you did, the greens are slower, which helps the players with the long putters. Keep that in mind. And the players who don't putt super great. I think that will really help. He was right on the verge of it. And, almost got into that playoff, got beat by that 20-footer by McIntyre on the last. But I like where Adam Scott's game is. I think this course, and I think links golf takes some experience overall, and I think that will really help Adam Scott here. Then Alex Noren at plus 9,000. He is in the second group off at 6:46 a.m. local time. He's going to have to get up pretty early. Ooh. But that's an early wake up call. But I really like that because he's in the top 10 in first round scoring on the tour this year. Going into last week, he was 6th. So he's really solid getting out of the gate. When you give a guy like that the early tee time, he can go and freewheel it. I also like Alex Noren.
So that'll be 1:47 East Coast time, 10:47 p.m. where I'm sitting right now. It's bananas. By the way, what was the year, Steve, that Adam Scott had the entire thing locked up, then went out of bounds? He had a 4-shot lead, 3 to play, and then lost?
I think that was against Ernie Els.
Correct.
Lytham St. Anne's or something. I can't remember, but
bogeyed the last 4, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a rough one.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was a tough loss. Wow. If you guys go back and look on YouTube, he had literally. I think they'd already started doing the claret jug thing, and then they had to take it back. I swear to God. Jeff says Tyrell Hatton minus 250 to snap a club. That's probably pretty. That's probably low.
Take it all day.
Probably pretty low. All right, our second category, and this is what we call our bread and butter. This is where you make all your money. You only got to beat one other guy. It is head-to-head matchups, and when you talk about head-to-head, you got to be very careful and understand and do a little bit of work yourself, because not everybody loves links golf. They all come to play because it's a major, but not everybody loves it. So let's start with you, Eddie Fernandes. Who do you like this week head-to-head?
Yeah, I flew in early this morning from New York, so I didn't have that many to choose from. I got home about 1:30, but Ludwig Oberg plus 110 over Xander. It's a tough one. If we're thinking about acceptance, there's not a guy on tour. I don't care how old they are. Ludwig is about as calm as they come. So I love him. A little hiccup in round 4, but he's far beyond his years in mental and emotional preparation and attitude. I love him to play well this week, and I think he's gonna play better than Xander. Although Xander's an absolute stud. Tommy Fleetwood, I love this guy so much. That's why I keep picking him. And I'm probably picking against Rahm more than picking Fleetwood. Obviously, Fleetwood is playing extremely well, but it seems like Rahm is back to his whiny, complaining kind of deal that he had a few years ago. I love Tommy in this one. Fleetwood is playing really good golf, and Rahm is he's kind of sunk back into that non-acceptance. I think that's the word of the day: acceptance.
There you go. We're gonna die on the Tommy Fleetwood hill here on DTL Golf. We're at some point he's gonna hit a bet for us.
We're gonna get it right one of these weeks. We're gonna get it right.
I would hate to. I hate to remind people, but we talked about it here on the show. When you sign for $300 million, I call it the Conor McGregor effect. All of a sudden, you don't work quite as hard. You're not quite as hungry. I knew this was coming, guys. And Jon Rahm's doing exactly what I thought he would do. Complaining about you're complaining about cameras? Yeah. You're complaining about music? That's what he's complaining about these days.
Signed up for it, dude.
Ridiculous.
Signed up
Thank
for
you,
it.
Robert. It is ridiculous. You got $300 million. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Nobody. All right, Steve Scott, let me come over to you, big boy, because you got 3, and they're all 3 different styles of players, and 2 are very, very young. And I would love to hear your analysis on why you think Batia and Thagala can play this kind of golf well.
Well, I think some of it's piggybacking on what you just said, what we just talked about with the live players. It's about motivation. It's about getting prepared properly. And really, I'm fading 2 live guys out of my 3 picks right here this week in Louis Oosthuizen and Joaquin Niemann. I mean, Corey Connors, number 1, plus 100. He is playing some really solid golf. Hasn't missed a cut in over a year. So let's start there. So he's going to be a consistent performer. You got a guy in his prime at 32 years of age versus a almost 42-year-old in Oosthuizen, who is an Open champion, but he's playing on a tour that's, let's face it, it's an exhibition tour. And so these players, they're just not getting prepared on the same type of golf courses in the same conditions. So Corey Connors, last week was his second best putting week last week since May of 23. The slower greens at the Renaissance Club definitely help, and they're going to find that this week as well. So you got a guy who's has everything to play for. He's got the President's Cup option this September to play for versus a guy who really just doesn't need it. So it's not even close for me. Corey Connors all the way here. Sahith Theegala plus 115 over Joaquin Niemann. Theegala played really well last week, and just like my two other head-to-head matchup, putting's not necessarily his calling card, but last week was his best putting stat in his last 5 events. So again, he's kind of found the mojo on some greens that aren't super, super slick. Niemann's played well on Live Golf this year. There's no two ways around that. But their golf courses, they're just not preparing them properly. And in the 2 major championships he's played, tied for 39th at the PGA, tied for 22nd at the Masters. Not what you would consider a guy who's playing awesome when it really comes down to it. And then Akshay Bhatia, minus 115 over Davis Thompson, excuse me. Akshay's a guy who's everyone who should have their eyes on this guy this week. He plays very well in windy conditions, can flight the ball high, low. He can do everything. He won on the Korn Ferry Tour in the Bahamas a couple of years ago, playing in some extreme wind. He loves the wind. Since the Canadian Open, by the way, since the first week of June, he has improved every single week. Tied for 60th, tied for all the way, he was 22nd at Memorial, tied for 16th at the U.S. Open, 5th at Travelers, 2nd at Rocket Mortgage. So you see the trend there. Is going really well for Bhatia. Davis Thompson, he's equal in strokes gained total to Bhatia, but he's behind in strokes gained approach, off the tee, and putting. So the edge definitely goes to Akshay on that one.
I will say it reminds me of a funny story. Me and RD were calling the John Deere Classic, which, because we're transparent here, Davis Thompson won 2 weeks ago. Yep. I called him David. And some idiot on Twitter says, just like you just did, he goes, maybe if you're going to pick a guy and brag about it, you can get his name right. So I wrote him back. I said, do you know where it doesn't matter if you get the name right? The pay freaking window, which is exactly where we were that week, cashed a plus 4,500. Yep. So you can shut it. Didn't hear from him again. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Amazing.
All right, RD. That was a fun week, by the way. Normally, people don't like calling. I love calling John Deere, especially with my boy. All right, RD, You got 3 big plays. Talk to me.
Well, Coach, my little birds, my scouts out in Scotland have informed me that the rough, which always looks very long but can play wispy and not nearly as big a deal as it appears on TV, is actually a big deal. It's very long, it's very lush, and very thick. So I'm going with some good drivers of the golf ball, some straight drivers of the golf ball, because you don't want pot bunkers, you don't want the heavy gorse. And so I can't pick a guy that's kind of hitting it all over the place. I started first with Hatton's been playing well, as Eddie said. But you're going to give me even money Bryson, who's having an all-time season in major championships, 6th at the Masters, 2nd at the PGA, 1st at the U.S. Open. This is the best major season since Jordan Spieth's, a few years ago was at 16. So I like Hatton being English. I think he probably – will like the surroundings better, but Bryson's on just a next level tear. So give me even money. And it was just an easy choice. You've got Russell Henley over Max Homa. Henley, he's 18th in accuracy this season. He was first last year for fairways hit. He's first in sand saves, which means when he does get in the pot bunkers, he's got a better chance than most others. And Homa is an empty saddle out there right now. He doesn't really know where his driver's going. He's not making the putts. Statistically, his putting and his driving are way down. Coach, you want to know a good way to suck at golf? Drive it bad and putt bad. If your goal is to suck, then you got it, baby. That's exactly how you do it. And Henley's been playing really well in majors as well. And then I told you, Bob Mack.
Yes.
Bob Mack. 2 national opens so far this year. Maybe a tad hungover, but we watched Hovland last week, and he doesn't know what he's doing either. He's working hard on the range with Joe Mayo. He's 51st in the FedEx Cup. I mean, he may not even see BMW coming in as defending champion. And then 1 top 10 this season. Yeah, he just doesn't have it right now, and Bob Mack certainly does. So love him.
Speaking of hungover, did you guys see that poor girl who sang the national anthem last night?
Oh,
That was
She
brutal.
came out. Did you see what she put out on Twitter a few minutes ago? She
No.
was
She was
trashed.
tired?
She was trashed last night, and she admitted to it. She's going to rehab today. And she kind of made a joke about it. She goes, "I've heard rehab is fun, but I knew something was going on last night. That was awful. I've seen her in concert, and she was great. She opened for Dan and Shay, and that last night I knew something was wrong, and she admitted to being completely drunk, which is the first time I've ever heard of that, with somebody singing the national anthem. I feel horrible for her, but hopefully she can get it straight. Yeah.
I sing so much better when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
But
that's true. I've heard you.
Karaoke.
Yeah.
I'm awesome,
you're the king of
Our
karaoke. You and
listener,
Travis Kelce.
She's a professional.
You and Travis Kelce are great. Is there anything that guy can't do, by the way? He's dating Taylor Swift. She's halfway around the world. He wins a karaoke contest. They call him Mr. Taylor Swift when he wins it. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. By the way.
One thing he can't do, get off my
that?
TV screen. I'm sick of seeing it. He can't do that.
That's right.
His podcast reportedly $100 million, which
shit.
they'll be lucky to get that money. I'm telling you, we're dealing with podcast companies right now. You can't have those big guarantees. I'm just telling you right now, if you're watching that company, don't pay them $100 million. Make them earn it. By the way, guys, I felt very uncomfortable this week because Big Cheesy, who is Steve Scott's either brother or something, because he says Steve Scott is a beast, my favorite golf capper. I don't know what you've done to Big Cheesy, but he loves you. He actually gave me a compliment on Twitter this week. I don't know how I don't know how I feel about it. Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. He said, all kidding aside, nobody works harder than the coach. I mean, I agree with it, but I don't know how I feel about Big Cheesy saying it. So, all right, category number 3 that we get to. We like to call this the finishing position. Don't get dirty out there, everybody. We're talking about golf right now. All right. So this is top 5s, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. Depending on where you get it, you can have a little bit of everything. So look, we've kind of sprinkled everything all around. Last week, we cashed Bobby McIntyre across the board. So RD, I'm going to start with you, big boy. Let's start with Corey Connors.
Well, I got a couple top 10s. To start with. Corey Connors has been playing wonderful, wonderful golf. He is, of course, I'm sticking with my trend, a great driver of the golf ball. He has had 3 top 10s this season, and they've come in his last 5 events, all 3 of them. So, and one of them was the U.S. Open. He is hitting the ball. Well, he always hits the ball the way he's supposed to, around an Open Championship, around Royal Troon where the rough is deep. So you got to bet him, and he's super duper motivated to make the President's Cup team. I mean, I know you don't need extra motivation at a major championship, but he's still got it. Doesn't matter. And then Akshay Bhatia. Part of this, why I'm taking him as a top 10, is it's supposed to be windy, and the wind literally just goes around him. It doesn't touch him. The guy's just in his rail. It's unbelievable. I mean, you if you don't put the sail up, the boat doesn't go anywhere. He's got no sail. It's just a mast. So wind's going around him. No problem there. He's actually, his last 2 tournaments were 5th and 2nd. He's in the top 30 in accuracy. He's just been playing fantastic golf. He's as full of confidence as anybody, except for maybe my next pick. And this is top 5. And this one was one that I just couldn't believe. Is it better odds, honestly? Aaron Rai.
Oh, yeah.
Leads in fairways hit on the PGA Tour. Last 3 tournaments, 2nd, 7th, 4th. Beautiful final round last week. He was in the last group the 2 weeks before that. He's playing some of the best golf, maybe outside of a couple guys. Scheffler, you got to throw him out. Maybe playing better golf than anyone. So just playing beautifully. And then Mr. 63 on Sunday, Siwoo Kim. I love these odds. I love the numbers. Plus 1,800 for a top 5. 63 last week, like I said, final round. 13th in fairways. And he's a guy that feeds off his own energy. If he gets a little down, he can get down. He'll show it. But he's not down. He's up. He's played really well last week. And, again, hits a lot of fairways. I'm going with the straight drivers. Proven winner. So I think that top 5, those are good odds.
Speaking of Scotty Scheffler, this will be his first start since he won the Travelers in a playoff over Tom Kim. He has never finished outside the top 25 at an Open Championship, but you don't see him on any of our cards because the numbers are so bad, you simply can't play him. There's no value. It wouldn't be smart to do that. Hashtag it pays to watch live. So let me come over to you, Fast Eddie. You decide I'm going straight top 20 market this week. You're going to keep it simple. Let's go.
Yeah, love Sung Jae for every reason I mentioned before. He's just at playing at an extremely high level. His strokes gained solid, very, very solid all around. Love his demeanor, love his patience for this golf course. I think he's going to have a really good week, top 20, maybe even if you want to go top 10 with him as well. Alex Noren plus 320, top 20 as well. 46th here and 20. Not many guys have played here. You know, you go down the list of guys that have played at Troon, and he's one of them. But he finished 46th here in 2016. He finished 10th last week, so he kind of figured a few things out in the last few weeks. It's amazing what a little bit of confidence will do, as all of us know in the game of golf. It could either crush you or make you a king. So, but I think he's due. He's one of the hardest working guys in the world. He practices at Liberty National. So some of the guys said he's out there and he just grinds all day long. So I think he's going to have a solid week, especially with his finish the Scottish last week. But to RD's point about Akshay, could you imagine if he wore Malbon clothes? He'd blow away. He'd blow all the way over to Ireland if he wore those baggy clothes, because he weighs about a 5, soaking wet. So
he looked like a flying squirrel.
You know, me and
flying squirrel. Too funny.
So me and RD found out a little something about that. If people are wondering what we're talking about, it's the awful clothes that Jason Day wears every single week that don't fit him, and they blow in. They're awful. And I love JD, but they're awful. We found out, didn't we, RD? He owns. They gave him an equity stake in the company, so sales directly affect his bottom line.
Right.
Which I find shocking. That he would, after looking at those RD, say, yeah, let me take the equity stake instead of a guaranteed number.
What that means, Coach, is he's not wearing the uglier parts of the line. He's wearing the prettiest.
He's wearing the best stuff.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh, they're the worst golf clothes I've ever seen in my life. I mean, and not close. It's not close. Yeah. So, Steve Scott, let me come over to you because Fast Eddie brought up a good point that now I can't remember because he made me laugh about Akshay Bhatia. I know what it was now. Because it's been 8 years and because there's only a few guys that have played Royal Troon, as you give us our picks or your picks, how important do you think it is, whether it's Royal Troon or just a course in general, to lean into guys that have played it before in the Open Championship?
I think it's pretty important. I think to understand, where the opportunities are, make sure you keep the bunkers are so important to keep it out of. I mean, they're definitely half a shot penalties at least. And so they're the kind of the hazards out there. You can't always see them. You really have to be really dialed into where the golf ball is going and where it might bounce to. A lot of times on the PGA Tour, it's a point A to point B game where the ball just hits and stops, like the John Deere Classic. Here, you got to worry about the C, the third factor. And so that will definitely play into it. Players with some history, I think, will have maybe a little bit more benefit there. But all these players have played international golf. These few guys that I'll mention here coming up. But I think that the ground game is very important. I think the ability to flight the ball up and down will be very big this week. But
what about your 3 plays?
Yeah. So as far as my plays go, I mean, top 40 with Eric Cole. Here's a guy who grew up in South Florida, lives in South Florida, plays in a lot of windy conditions in the winter down there. He's a great ball striker, and keeping the ball in play, like RD said, with the rough this week, I think will be very important. Eric Cole at plus 210 for a top 40. I think that's pretty much a lock right there. Top 20 for Bobby McIntyre at plus 175. This guy is on a heater. He knows these golf courses so well. And most importantly, he knows how to flight the ball up and down, knows how to control the ball in all this heavy wind, the crosswinds. He knows all of that. So a top 20 for him, I think is probably about as bad as he's going to be this week. So I really like where he's going. Obviously, when you're winning like he is, he's won twice this year. I think the fact that his game is right in the right spot, and then you match that up with the golf course and conditions that he is so comfortable with on home soil, he's going to be in great stead there. Top 10 for Shane Lowry. Here's a guy, just like Scotty Scheffler, has not played since the Travelers Championship. I've got him at plus 360 for a top 10 this week. And one of the things, again, the greens are a little slow this week. Shane Lowry, his putting, not super sharp overall compared to the rest of his game, but I think these conditions will really help him. He hits that low stinger as well as anybody. He'll take that 2 or 3 iron and just kind of flight it right under the wind. Really sweet. Great driver of the golf ball. He puts the ball in the fairway as much or more than anybody in the whole world. He will be very much at home this week. He's very rested. I think that's a big thing as well. His mind will be clear. He'll be ready to go this week for a top 10.
How did that go? By the way, speaking of South Florida real quick, and you guys know me, I'm not a political guy. I like funny shit. I like funny stuff, and I like great lines at zingers. Did you guys see that the day after the assassination attempt, Donald Trump was playing at one of his 2 courses? I can't remember which one, but me and Eddie play in the RD knows what's coming. We play on both of these at an event, Golf for Cops, in December. And apparently, and somebody was there, he let like people take pictures and stuff. That's who he is. He sinks a 20-foot putt, apparently on the last hole to shoot something or other. And he turned towards the camera and he says, "That's the difference between me and the clown who tried to shoot me. I don't miss." What?
That's awesome.
Oh my God. That's one of the badass lines of all freaking time. Look at Steve Scott. He's like,
so funny. I mean, it's too much. It's too much.
Straight up gangster right there.
That is a little gangster right there. It really is. I don't care if you like Trump. That's a little gangster.
I'm gonna be playing his course. I think that was the Bedminster course up in New Jersey.
Yeah,
referencing. I'm actually going to be there Saturday morning. I got a tee time.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Oh, I
not
thought
kidding.
it was national, international, but you're right. It probably makes more sense that it was Bedminster. Where was
It's too hot. It's too hot in South Florida right now. Ooh.
Jersey.
Oh my God, it is hot. Where was the national convention at last night? Anybody know?
Milwaukee.
It's in Milwaukee.
At Milwaukee.
Okay. You guys see him with the big thing on it? I mean, he's like
Yeah.
it's like a pro wrestling move. The big old bandage on the ear. Come on.
Hey,
Come on.
he's a brander if nothing else. He can brand like the greatest of all time.
That I will say he did. I saw some people. He had Amber Rose speak for him last night. You guys know who Amber Rose is?
Sorta.
A lot of people are like,
model.
well, she's done a lot of things over the years. Yeah. Probably best known for OnlyFans at this point. All right. So our next category, and this is the one. Yeah, that story is real, Joe. This is the one that we've really been cashing lately. I picked 2 winners in a row. I kind of backed off. I said, I don't want to take all the attention from my guys. I'm going to let them do it. So I'm looking at these names, and it's a major championship, and you got to figure out how you finish and how you finish at this course. So, RD, I'm going to come over to you because we keep fighting the Tommy Fleetwood fight. Is this going to be the week?
I hope so. I think it'd be as popular a win pretty much as you can get. He is 5th in fairways hit on the PGA Tour this year. He hits a ton of fairways. He is from over there. He's used to that kind of weather. And he loves the Open Championship. He's got a 2nd, a 4th, and a 10th in his last 5 goes around. That's just one of those guys that you're right, Coach. You know he's going to hit. You know he's going to hit at some point. And is he going to make a big, huge splash at a big, huge event like this? I like the chances. I really do. And I think 22-1 is a really good way to put a little bit of money on Tommy Fleetwood. That's great odds for a guy that's that good, a proven winner, and a due winner for sure. And then, I mean, because as I look up and down our list here, Colin Morikawa. I mean, we don't need to get into it because I'll let them do it. Everybody's got him, and frankly, I would be surprised if we didn't. He's just been playing too good. He's won here before. He's 3/4 and a 2nd in his last 6 and tournaments. And sticking to my theme, Coach, 2nd in fairways hit this year on tour.
You got to stay out of those big old or the little old pop bunkers. You got to stay out of the long stuff. Or like Steve said, it adds a half a stroke, sometimes even a full stroke. That's the penalty. It's not water on links course. It's always that. So fast, steady.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I don't let you guys talk to each other. before the show. You guys do your picks separately, but somehow you landed on the same two names. How?
Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to say. We don't know who our picks are going to be. Like, we don't know who we're picking. So it's kind of cool that it seems like every week we always have some of the same guys. And to Robert, not to regurgitate what he said, because it's all true and everything that I was going to say, but the two things about the two guys, Colin and Tommy. Colin is third in cumulative score to par in the three previous majors this year so far, and Tommy is sixth. So they're playing in the majors extremely well. I think both of these guys are going to have phenomenal weeks. And like Robert said, Tommy's due. I'm going to keep picking him until he wins. But I think, look, two great picks. I really love both of them this week. And there you go, Steve. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, Steve, back up that Morikawa. Everybody's on him.
But here's what I got. You need to get a better number there, Eddie, because we got plus 1,600. You only got plus 1,400. So
that was at 6:30 this morning. So
yeah, okay, all right. Things have changed. Things have changed. But Collin Morikawa, here is the big reason why I like Collin Morikawa this week, and it's really one main reason. It's always the game behind the game, and what you come to find is it's always the coach, the guy in like the pit crew, the guys who you don't necessarily know. But there are some reasons why there are players who are winning. So here's the common thread and why Collin Morikawa is going to take the title this week. There's a putting coach. His name is Stephen Sweeney. He lives down in South Florida area, in the Palm Beach Gardens area. He has worked with Shane Lowry, his fellow Irishman, Akshay Bhatia, and Bobby McIntyre. They've done pretty well this year. All have cashed in the winner's circle this year. Collin Morikawa, he has been working with Stephen Sweeney for the last couple of years. His putting is right on the money right now, and he is really primed right now. He has not finished outside the top 16 in any individual event since the Valero Texas Open. So he's been positive in all the strokes gained categories, and it's just no weakness in his game right now. But the common thread is that putting coach. And you got to make putts. It's the final stroke on every hole. It's the one that's going to carry you from that green to the tee. It's the one that part of the game that gives you the most confidence. That's why Collin Morikawa is going to take home the claret jug for the second time in his career this week.
I defy any of you watching right now. I don't care if it's live. I don't care if it's on demand, to listen to the last few nuggets and think you ever would have found them. So I'll ask you one very simple question right here, right now. Do you want to do the work? I didn't think so. That's why you come to us. Boom! Now, Joe says Circa has Morikawa at 1625. Best number I've seen out there. The reason, and people always ask, how come you put up the different numbers? Why don't you match everything up? Because we want you to understand that my guys send them in at different times. What does that translate into? That the lines are always moving. We want you to understand it's not a straight business. We're not going to say, hey, we had it this number. It depends on when you get it. And if you look at our numbers, say, okay, that's where it's at. Now I got to wait for it to either move or sometimes you get it too late. It's all about, again, knowledge is power. We're thinking next level. Nobody else does that but us. Now, we have one category left. Excuse me. And this is where we put everything that doesn't fit into any other category. We call it the long shots. It could be anything over plus 5,000. It could be group betting, whatever it is. But on this week, we keep it very, very simple. So Fast Eddie, I'm going to come over to you. You found a couple of big numbers and two guys that are very much alive. And at those numbers, man, that'd be a nice payout.
Oof. Alex Noren plus 10,000. I almost had to like really? He's such a good player, and he is due just like Fleetwood. I think he's going to have a great week. He finished 10th last week, so he hadn't been playing that great, and then he kind of figured something out last week. He's a grinder, and I think you're going to have to be a grinder this week, especially on the back nine. This back nine is absolutely treacherous and brutal. So he's going to have to – you're going to have to grind it out at certain points of your rounds, especially if the wind starts blowing. I love the action, 10,000 plus 10,000. Confidence is an amazing thing, especially in golf, as we all know. And you can build off a solid week like the Scottish. So I think he's going to have a great week. Adam Scott, what can I say about him? He's, 46, 45 years old? Still got plenty of gas left in the tank. He finished second last week. And, he's Adam Scott. He should have won this event, whatever it was 15 years ago. Finished 42nd and 43rd in the two previous opens at Troon. So he's one of the few guys that played both at Troon, both times at Troon. And I love him even as a top 10 or even top 20 pick. So those are my.
What's he had like 93 straight majors or something like that? Like the
something.
U.S. Open, he almost missed. He got a special exemption.
Yeah.
I think that was like 92 in a row. Think about it. That's over 20 years, 23 years of straight majors.
He's swinging it well, too.
That is crazy. Yeah. All right, Steve, let me come over to you, big boy, because I love these two, and I cannot believe the numbers are where they are for those two dudes. I just
crazy.
Are you sure they're correct?
Yeah, I saw it. It's pretty wild, right? I mean,
Nuts.
With Akshay, he has not been really proven on the major championship stage. Has not, really contended. But I think the weather conditions this week, I think he's going to figure it out. He's got a really good opportunity to do so. But he's got a lot of things going for him, like we already mentioned. But let's get to Sung Jae Im though. And why is he a long shot? You think of his ball striking and his immaculate prowess around the golf course. He is, since the Masters, he has not finished worse than tied for 12th at any event, with the big exception of all three majors. He's missed the cut in all three majors this year. That is why he's a long shot. But if he can just get his mindset, throw the major championship thing out of the window for just a second, his game is right there where he wants it. It's just a matter of shifting his mindset. And he would not be a long shot had he made a few of those cuts and continued his great play from the other events. He's been, in the last 10 events, he's been positive in strokes gained putting, except for the Open and the PGA. So his game is just right there. He's just got to get over that little bit of a hump. And I think he'd be a great guy to pick for something this week, if not an outright victory like I am.
I absolutely love that. And when you watched him at the Rocket Mortgage, when you watched him at the one before that, Travelers, the one after the Rocket Mortgage, I mean, every week he's showing up. And to your point, the only thing he hasn't done in the last month is win. That's a great number. That's worth just a little bit of a sprinkle. Yeah. All right, RDM, coming over to you, big boy. You got three names, and you've got a couple of numbers that are blowing my mind. Blowing my mind. You're up.
Again, the same thing about Sung Jae Im. I'm saying with Aaron Rai. He's playing better than almost anyone on the planet. He's coming in hot. Plus 6,500 is putting him in the long shot category. Really just doesn't seem right. Siwoo Kim, I watched him last week. I got to watch him play. He split seemingly every single fairway he hit at the Renaissance Club at the Scottish Open. Plus 10,000. This guy's a former Players Champion. Again, he's a proven winner. The odds to me, those don't make sense for a little bit of a sprinkle on a long shot. And then the other one, the last one, Ben On. I stared at this one for a while, and I said to myself, Robert, because that's my name, Robert. I said, Robert, are you really going to take a guy that does not follow the trend you said you're going to go with, which is fairways hit? The guy really doesn't hit fairways. You're damn right I am. This is the long shot category, and this guy is a hell of a player at plus 12,000. Great ball striker. He's 11th in FedEx Cup points this year. Wouldn't surprise anyone if he came out with a claret jug this week.
Amazing analysis, picks, and we are all done getting you ready. So we like to wind up every show getting our final thoughts in about 15 to 20 seconds. So, gentlemen, we've got all the picks in. And now, as Eddie said, this is one of those weeks you throw sleep out the window. You get up in the middle of the night, you just say, hey, this is simply what we do. Final thoughts. We'll start with Fast Eddie, sir.
Yeah, love this week. I think, the grinders are going to have a really good week. You have to grind it out. You can't allow the bad bounces and the bad things to happen to you to get to your mind. You have to, a guy like Oberg, a guy like Noren, these guys are going to be level-headed. And I think that's what's going to be the story of the week. And that back nine is just absolutely everything you want. So I'm looking forward to watching.
And also remember that in the history of the Open Championship, we've had a champion come back from 10 back on the final day to win. Anything's possible, especially when the win starts here, Steve Scott, and then all of a sudden it goes up to here in the middle of the day. Your final thoughts?
Right. I think there will be a big discrepancy in the weather, but one thing there will not be a discrepancy is that everybody tees off on the first hole. And that's pretty unique. You have
Right.
so much daylight overseas this time of year. You can play golf up to almost 11 o'clock at night. So there's a single tee start only. Everybody will play the golf course in the same order. There will not be a 10th tee start at all. So sometimes those holes can be very difficult for the players. But the first hole, and the players can kind of get off to that good start on that shorter, maybe a little bit easier front nine, and then kind of hang on for dear life. But there will not be a discrepancy in that this week. Everybody starts on the same spot.
My boss at SportsCenter was also the lead golf producer, and he loved this month of the Open Championship. His name's Mike McQuaid. You guys all know him. And he famously would sit there from the first tee and never get up until the last first tee was hit, and he would produce for 9-10 straight hours without a break. Legendary for that. He loved this course. I was actually in his office the day. Remember when they sold this to Fox or one of the other networks, and ESPN didn't have it anymore? ABC didn't have it. Oh, he was pissed. RD, your final thoughts.
Well, Coach, I did play Troon in the 1997 Justin Leonard Open Championship, and I can tell you, and everybody that hasn't been there, get your birdies on the front nine, because the back nine is a bitch. Maybe the hardest 9 holes I have ever played in my life. The wind blows down every hole on the front, and you turn around and come right back into the teeth of it, out of bounds on the right side every hole. All of a sudden, they go from little drivable, almost par 4s to par 6s, each and every one of them. So get them all on the front nine, and then hold on to your butts on the back nine. Nothing like waking up, grabbing your coffee, turning on Major Championship Golf in the morning, one of my favorite tournaments of the year.
I thought you were going to say grab something else. I was like, whoa.
Well,
that was the line of the
I don't
show.
judge.
Son of a bitch. Oh, my God. That's just all the image I have. And now seeing these guys out here, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much, not only for today, but all the major shows, all the time as we really get this brand started. We knew this year would be tough and fun, and now we're kind of starting to turn that corner, but it's because of all 3 of you. So thank you all very much. Producer man, you know what time it is. Need that one shot. Thank you very much. Now it's time for you guys to go out into the world. It's time for you to pay it forward. Be kind to one another. And I see all of you in the chat. Buy the drinks when you need to buy the drinks. Put it on the tab. Doesn't matter. You don't get the bill for another 3 weeks. And understand this. There's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Open Championship tickets, especially Colin Morikawa, straight to the pay window. My entire crew, Lobo, Fast Eddie Fernandes, Steve Scott, my man RD, and producer man always behind the scenes making the show look like $1 million. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's truly what we're all about every single week right here on DTL Golf. Good luck.